Hey everyone and welcome to Storytime. My name is Jake and today we are going to be looking at the subreddit r/prorevenge, where people tell us their best stories on when they got revenge on someone or something they didn't like. If you're new around here, please do hit subscribe down below so that you never miss out on another video. But for now, let's sit back, relax and enjoy some pro-revenge stories. We'll never see each other again. Think again. I was bullied relentlessly from the 3rd to 7th grade by multiple people in my class or upper grades. After I graduated 8th grade, I received a Facebook message from Andy, a boy who had been bullying and harassing me from the very beginning of it all. I would post the exact message, but it was extremely vulgar and long. He ended it by saying that we would never see each other again. He could put it all out in the open about how much of an idiotic, ugly and loser I was. Of course, he used a more colourful dictionary with those words, but you get the idea. However, there was one problem. My parents owned a large wood chipper. Andy's father owned a tree cutting business and would often rent it from them for the much larger jobs. During the summer, I noticed him walk in and start talking to my uncle, and I realised the golden opportunity I had been given. I loaded Facebook on my laptop and bring the message up. I then approach his dad and tell him, "Your son sent this message to me a few days after graduating, and I think it's really important you read it." He raised an eyebrow at first, but took my laptop. As he read, I could visibly see his face turn blood red and his hands shook as he gripped the sides of my laptop harder and harder. I think he reread the entire thing over again just to make sure what he was reading, and even clicked the profile to make sure it had indeed been his son who sent it. Finally, he gave me my computer back and told me he was so sorry for his son's behaviour and language, and that he would most certainly be dealing with Andy the moment he got home. It took 2 months for me to hear back about the fallout. Andy's older and way nicer brother Grant was friends with my sister, who told her and then she told me. Andy was grounded for the entire summer, fall and winter break. His parents cancelled the trip he was going to take to the beach with their student youth group at church, cancelled his summer camp trip, going to hold him back from getting his driving permit for a full year, took away all his games and computer. Instead of going with his dad and brother on their hunting trips, he would be sent to his grandparents' house to help clean. His social media passwords were changed so he didn't have access to them, deleted his Xbox account, and Andy would have to work for his dad doing tree cutting the entire summer and winter holiday. There were more punishments, but I already cannot recall them. I ruined his life for a good 2 to 3 years, and destroyed the relationship he had with his father and mother. Probably not forever, but they certainly no longer saw him as their well-behaved youngest child. It was so satisfying. When I saw, he's got a wood chipper, I was like, oh no, I know where this is going. I've seen too many scary films, and then it ended with that, which is much better. Substitute says we are going to be the ruining of America, so I put her out of a job. Little bit of a backstory. I have attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, and am slightly autistic. Not a lot, but just enough to be considered on the spectrum. In this case, I would have trouble reading someone's social cues, keeping my mouth shut, interrupt people, understand someone else's feelings, and understanding/conveying some emotions. I had little self-confidence and always asked what I should do, even if it was my decision on things. Due to my autistic characteristics, sometimes use a baby voice, which was my voice becoming higher pitch and squeaky when I became anxious. Despite being slightly autistic, I didn't struggle with grades. I worked hard despite having autism and gave it my all in every subject I had. Even though I didn't necessarily struggle with subject, at certain times of the day I asked questions. At times, a lot of questions. So I sometimes would ask questions in a way that would answer what I really want to ask and not seem stupid. Another bit of background is that the middle school I went to had thick stone walls and a very heavy door. There could be a fight in the classrooms and you would barely hear anything in the hallways. The story. Throughout my school years, I always had an amazing teacher. My mum and dad were very involved with the school, and as a result, the teachers and the principals knew me. They didn't necessarily give me special treatment due to my disability or relationship with my family, but I still felt like they knew me better than most other students. Every day around lunch, my morning medication wore off. I usually had to go to the nurse's office to take medication for my ADHD. As such, I would come 2 to 3 minutes late to my third block class. My third block class was English. My teacher in that class understood that I had autism and wouldn't get upset when I asked obvious questions or was running a few minutes late to her class. One day, I had just came from the nurse's office and opened the door to my third block class. At my English teacher's desk was a woman in her late 40s, wearing a shirt with America on it. The class was usually louder than this since we had just come back from lunch, but it was dead silent. The woman, our substitute teacher, turned towards me with a very foul expression on her face. "Why are you late?" As previously mentioned, I am slightly autistic and lack self-confidence, and back then I had the tendency to stutter and not look people in the eyes. I just came from the nurse's office. "Are you sick?" "No, I just needed..." "Then sit down," she said, interrupting me. I sat down in my desk and class proceeded. I had never had a sub or teacher like this before, but I thought she might just be in a bad mood. After a few minutes, she passed out packets for us to work on, and the class began working on them. I looked at the title of the packet, and it was for the book we were working on, but it was on the next chapter, not the one we had read yesterday. We hadn't done the packet on the previous chapter, or read the chapter for the packet we were just given. I raised my hand. "Yes?" "This is for the next chapter. Did you want us to read the chapter silently?" "Ah, yes!" I was going to do that anyway, but this was my attempt at clarifying if they had meant to pass this out and not the previous chapter's packet. I guess I broke the class's silent streak, as several of my classmates would just get up and ask her questions about the packet. I would get up twice and ask her questions, but the only replies she would give were, "Just read the book," or "Just make a guess." The answer key was on the desk, but she didn't make the effort to check. It was clear to everyone else that she was becoming agitated, but because I had trouble reading social cues, I didn't see it until it was too late. The third time I got up, she was already huffing. I wanted to ask her if this is what kind of the answer the question was asking without directly asking for the answer, but my brain got ahead of me. Would this be correct? "Are you seriously asking me to give you the correct answer for you?" I started to stutter when I tried to reply, but she didn't give me the chance. "How do y'all not understand? You're the next generation of the world and you're asking me these obvious questions?" "But it's obvious to you because you know the answers." In my mind, I was just making a statement about how she was more knowledgeable than us because she was an adult. However, she had interpreted it as me saying that the only reason she knew the answers to the sheet is because she had seen the answer key, basically calling her stupid. This set her off. "I've already graduated. Y'all should be smarter than this, but instead, you kids are going to end up being the ruining of America." The class was silent. I went back to my seat and continued working. Meanwhile, she continued to go off on us, but not yelling like the last outburst. The bell rang and everyone in the class left. Most shrugged it off, Others said they would tell their parents, but I was having none of it. I had always been the person to not get angry until I couldn't contain my anger, but in this case, I was ready to explode. During the next block, I asked the teacher of that class if I could talk to the counselor about something, and help me control my frustrations. She let me, and I headed into the office. I wanted to tell the counselor about what had happened and maybe she could do something. I asked the woman in the office if I could talk to the counselor. She told me that the counselor was talking to the principal, so just wait outside. My medication had kicked in by this point, and it couldn't have done so at a better time. As soon as she said that, my eyes lit up. This was perfect. The revenge. Inside the principal's office, the counselor was sure enough talking to the principal. I was told to wait outside, but my plan needed them both in there at the same time. I went in anyway. Inside, I tapped on the counselor's back to get her attention. "I'm in the middle of something, is there something you need?" I made sure I was close enough for the principal to hear my reply. "Yes, could you and I talk about the hurtful things the sub said?" The plan went off without a hitch. I wanted her out of the school and never near a school again. Just as planned, the principal intervened. "If you don't mind, could you explain what you meant by hateful things?" After I explained what had happened, the principal called some of my classmates from my third block to verify this. After others reported the same, and even new ones. The next day, my English teacher was back, and the substitute wasn't seen in the school again. It turns out that the substitute was applying for a teaching job. I don't know all the details, but I'm fairly certain she didn't get it. In fact, before I left the middle school, it turned out that I had cost her not only getting the job here, but in the district. I've since graduated high school with honours, and even got first place in a writing competition. I don't know what happened to her, but even though she said all those things, I still hope she found a job and is better now. Ruin my marriage? I will take you both down. Background. In 2006, I was 25 and married a woman 13 years older than me and became a stepdad to a 15-year-old girl. I always considered myself a level-headed person, kept my cool, and went with the flow. That was until my marriage fell apart. Cast: me, Alma, former wife; Marina, stepdaughter; Carl, stepdaughter's biological father; and Karen, the biological father's ex-wife. So it's the summer of 2009, Alma and I have 3 years in, and Marina just graduated high school. Alma tells me that Marina has been asking about her biological father. Alma says that she wants to write to an old address she had for him to see if he would be interested in getting to know his daughter. I was fine with it, as I believe that Marina had every right to try and get to know her father. A month goes by, and Alma tells me that Carl emailed her and is open to getting to know her daughter. Alma and Carl email back and forth so she can feel him out and he can get a sense on what Marina is like. At this point, I don't mind at all because Alma is open about all the emailing and what they write about. Fast forward a few weeks. Marina and Carl are communicating back and forth regularly. Everything looks to be working out. I start to notice Alma on the computer more and more chatting with Carl. I ask her about it and she affirms that she and he developed a friendship over the past few weeks. I don't think much about it as she isn't hiding anything and Carl lives in Mexico City. We lived in Central California. A few months go by and Alma tells me that Marina wants to meet Carl and he has time off coming, so it's a perfect time to do it. Alma will go with Marina, but I won't be able to go since I couldn't get the time off work. Alma and Marina go on their trip. They are gone for 2 weeks. Week 1 is spent at Alma's grandparents' home, and week 2 would be spent in Cabo, where Carl would fly in to give him and Marina time to connect in person. Their vacation came and went, and they finally came home. When I picked up the girls, I began asking about their trip, but all I would get would be one-word answers from both of them. Marina and Alma looked like they were upset with one another. I figured they got into an argument on the way home. A few hours in a plane can do that to you. A week later, and we are back in our routine, but Alma and Marina are still barely talking. I ask what is wrong, and she tells me that her and Marina had an argument about Carl. I chalked it up to the meeting not being longer, so I say, well, maybe next vacation Carl has can be spent in California, and he can bring his sons so Marina can meet her brothers. They can even stay with us for a few days. Alma really liked the idea. So, and I kid you not, the very next day, both are at work and I have the day off. I am working around the house and come across a small stack of papers on the entryway table. I pick them up and see if they are important. It's a printed out email and I see my name in it. I read it and just keep reading through the stack of papers. It was a complete printout of Alma and Carl's email conversations they were having through her work email address. I felt sick. The more I read, the sicker I felt. In the emails, they had the whole vacation planned out, including the fact that Carl would be staying with her and Marina in the suite I had arranged for them, rather than get his own hotel room. The worst was the fact that they were debating how they should tell Marina that they planned on being affectionate with each other during this trip because, as he put it, she should be happy that her parents are finding each other again after 18 years. And how else are you and I going to be able to share a room? Turns out, Marina wasn't very happy about the situation and wouldn't let them be alone together. First thing I did was take the emails and have copies made. I wasn't sure on what I was going to do yet, but I knew I should make them. I then drove to Alma's work and tell her that I was there to take her lunch. When we go to a secluded parking lot, I confronted her about the emails. She had the nerve to try and turn it on me. How could you go through my private emails like that? She didn't argue. She just claimed that the bond that she and Carl had was strong and that I wasn't the husband that she had hoped I would be. I argued. I cried and asked her if we could work through it, and all she would say is maybe, and that she would think about it. For the next few days, I was a mess. I would mope and pout when I was alone and would be Alma's attentive husband when she was home. Then, I saw that she and Carl were chatting on the home computer and not even trying to hide it. The revenge. When I realized that this wasn't going to end, I decided that I needed ammunition. I already had the emails from her work, but I wanted more. So I found a computer program that runs in the background. It takes screenshots and is a keystroke logger. I installed it on both our home computers. With the program, I had screenshots of their chatting sessions and had access to Alma's personal email accounts. I found every last bit of correspondence and printed it out. At first, I thought I would take the emails to a lawyer that could use it for my divorce, but then I found out that California was a no-fault state, so it wouldn't matter. So I came up with Plan B. I took everything I had collected and began going through it. I arranged it in chronological order and began writing down every bit of information that I thought I could use. Every break at work, I would just read, highlight, and write down information. I ended up with 2 notebooks full of random info. Where Carl worked, where his father's home was, phrases Carl would use. Phase 2 was the fun part. I went to a popular search engine that would also provide you with a free email address. I found the link to the Mexican version and created an email address for a fake woman. Let's call her Miss Sandoval. Miss Sandoval emails Alma and tells her that she was Carl's live-in girlfriend until a few weeks prior, and that she had been debating whether or not to email and warn her about Carl and his anger. Miss Sandoval wrote about their relationship and the things that they would do, like his favourite vacation spots, how she cared for his boys, all the pet names he would call her. Everything written would come from one of the emails or chats they would have. Then, Miss Sandoval wrote about how he would become verbally abusive and how it started around the same time that Alma and Carl's relationship changed. Emails went back and forth for a week, and in one email I included a picture of a battered woman I found online. As this interaction is going on, I am still keeping tabs on their conversations, and their tones have changed. Alma asks about Miss Sandoval, and of course, he denies knowing who she is, and of course Alma doesn't believe him. She is furious that he would lie to her, and now she feels like she is the reason for this poor woman's abuse. In the end, Alma breaks things off with him, and she even shares the email from Miss Sandoval with Marina and convinces her that her father is a terrible person, and she shouldn't have any more contact with him. Oh, but that's not all. During my spying, I was able to find Carl's ex-wife, Karen, social media, and had Miss Sandoval email her a copy of every email I had. Now, I don't know what Mexico's divorce laws are like, but Karen was very grateful for all the info, and was sure that it would help her in the divorce that had been going on for 3 years at that point. Now, let's not forget about Alma. She didn't go unscathed from this. When her relationship with Carl tanked, she naturally tried to fix things with me, and me so satisfied I torpedoed their relationship was more than happy to accept her attention. Don't get me wrong, our marriage was over. I was just leading her to think that we were working things out. On the day that I left, the first eviction notice arrived from the bank. Apparently, the ordeal made me forget to pay the mortgage on our house, and her job received an email from me with copies of her and Carl's inappropriate emails made using the company email address and showing it was on the company time. It was worth the hit to my credit score just to get her frantic voice messages about her losing the house and her getting demoted at work. Edit/update. So, to answer some of the common questions I've gotten, Marina and I still talk and visit on occasion, but she has her own family and moved away due to work. Marina and her biological father tried to connect a few years later, but in the end, he cut all ties with her because she wouldn't act like a loving and devoted daughter on the first visit. Alma and Marina never found out that I was the one to email her as Miss Sandoval. I need to clarify that I intentionally forgot to pay the home mortgage for a few months. She had no idea since I was the one who set up the online accounts and I picked up all the mail. So it must have been the daughter Marina that printed off the emails on the side desk for him to read, because there's no way they just magically appeared and I don't see who else it would be, so she obviously wanted that to happen. I don't know, I'd love to hear your guys' take on that story because it was kind of confusing. Hey everyone, I hope you all had a really good day and that you enjoyed that video. If you want to check out some other videos, then click on screen right now or check out the playlist down below. If you enjoyed that video, then please do leave a like. And if you want to submit your own stories, then you can do so by joining the Discord in the top link in the description. But thank you so much for watching and I will see you very soon.